Hey, this is Dylan from EG Brewing. This is going to be the first in a series of videos on how I make all of my drinks. Today we are in my apartment with my assistant Sniff, and we're going to be making Blanche de Haebangchon. This is a witbier, Blanche style beer. It is made with wheat, pilsner, and some spices. Okay, let's get started. The first step is already done. We have our water heated to 70 degrees, and we're going to crush the grain and then add that to the water. Ooh, a little dusty. Now we're going to grind it up. We're going to add this to the kettle and let it soak for 1 hour at 70 degrees. I like to do this in a bag, and it's just a little easier. Now we are going to stir this and just make sure all of the grain is mixing with the water. We're going to start this one boiling, and we're going to wash out this grain to make sure we get all the sugar. Gotta keep everything in. The hops need a full hour, so we're going to just put that in. Just like that. And we're going to start our main timer, and we're also going to start the secondary timer at 30 minutes because that is when we're going to add the next thing, which is the ginger. We're going to add our last ingredients now. Haebangchon, bitter orange peel, coriander, which I moved to here just to be a little easier. Okay, so now the cooking is complete. Turn that off. So now that we have it boiling, we have to cool this down as quickly as we can. We're going to move this over to the kitchen, and I'm going to show you how we cool this down.
This is called a wort chiller, and it is basically just a copper coil that connects to a faucet on one end and then drains out on the other end.
Just finished cooling down the beer, and we're going to move it to this one, which is our primary fermenter. That is it. We're going to check in on this tonight, maybe tomorrow, and hopefully starts fermenting.
When you make beer, you end up with a lot of leftovers. I'm trying to brew with as little waste as possible, so I'm giving the waste a new life. Up on my roof, I've been doing a compost pile for about 6 months. Basically, all my food waste goes in there. To this, I'm now adding the spent grain, hops, and spices. In a few months, this will break down, come out, and go into the planter boxes for my garden. Full circle.
And what we're going to do today is move it to our keg and start the carbonating process, which is going to be a little bit special for this particular beer. Okay, what we're going to do now is carbonate the beer. And normally I would take the kegs upstairs to the room I have up there. And I have a CO2 setup there with a fridge. So you can basically connect a CO2 tank to the keg and that will carbonate the keg. And you can do this style that way, but you don't have to. You can actually do a little bit of science, and you can sort of do it another way. When you make alcohol, what is happening is yeast eats sugar and produces alcohol and CO2. Normally, you don't want the CO2, and you have something called an airlock, which is this thing, and the CO2 will bubble out and won't be kept. For this one, we still have a little bit of yeast kind of floating around in the beer. So what we're going to do is add a controlled amount of sugar to the beer. It will ferment a little bit one more time, and we're going to keep that CO2 in the keg, and that will be the CO2 for the beer. So that's 142 grams. We're going to pick this up again when it is ready for bottling. And after all that, here we are with the final beer. As you can see, the color came out really well. This sort of straw, yellow, cloudy, pretty much exactly what I wanted. Also, I'm using this 500 milliliter clear glass bottle. I like the way it looks. They're kind of easy to buy, and I can use the custom cap that I had made on these. I also have some of these 750 bottles, but they're a little bit harder to get a hold of. So these I kind of only do in a limited amount. Alright, enough talk. Let's open one of these up and see how it tastes. That is great. Light, fruity. The spices and orange peel really come forward. If you're someone who already knows this style, maybe something like a Hoegaarden, I'm sure you're going to love it. If you are a person that doesn't really like beer that much, this is really the perfect way to get started. Light, fruity, not too intimidating. Really, it's the perfect drink for summer. Cheers.